Welcome to Multifamily 09, the design to budget. This is how to hold the line without late stage value engineering. In Multifamily 08, we talked about the amenity ROI. So this was how to decide what to build, what to right size, what to defer, and what to skip. And today, we're taking that same discipline and applying it to the whole project budget. Because budget problems usually don't appear all at once. They build slowly through small scope decisions, unpriced assumptions, design complexity, coordination gaps, and optimistic allowances. Then, late in the process, everyone calls it value engineering. But by then, the team is usually cutting under pressure. Now today, I'll give you the tool that's called the Design to Budget Control Worksheet, plus a budget variance register, so the team can hold the line before the late stage cuts become painful. The decision that we're improving in this video is simple. Does the design decision still fit the budget guardrail? And if not, what are we trading before the project drifts? That matters because budget is not just a number. Budget is a decision framework. It tells the team what must be protected, what can be simplified, what should be right-sized, and what can be deferred. And lastly, what needs pricing before it gets approved. Late value engineering fails because the team is usually solving the problem after the design has hardened. The geometry's set, the systems are coordinated, the entitlement path is probably underway. The owner has gotten attached to the scheme, and so has the design team. The estimate finally shows the gap. At that point, the team isn't really optimizing anymore. They're cutting. And cuts made late often hit the wrong things. Durability, operations, resident experience, revenue drivers, or schedule reliability. Value engineering is not the same as designing to budget. Value engineering is a late stage reaction. Design to budget is an early discipline. Design to budget means the budget is managed while the team still has choices. It means that the budget is visible during design option reviews, not just after the estimate. It means that the scope gets classified early. What do we protect? What do we simplify? What do we right size? What do we defer? And what do we price before approving? The goal is not to make the project cheap. The goal is to spend the money where it protects the outcome and stop spending money on complexity that doesn't support the deal. Budget drifts in predictable places. The structure and the typology, especially when transfers, podium conditions, or inefficient grids show up late. It shows up in parking because parking type drives the structure, the civil scope, and the schedule. It shows up in the envelope because small facade decisions repeat hundreds of times. It shows up in MEP and utilities because service capacity, the shafts, the long lead equipment, and the equipment rooms can move cost and area. Site, civil, and right-of-way because stormwater, frontage, and access work are often underestimated early. Amenities and the back of the house because nice-to-have scope can crowd out yield and budget. None of these are automatically bad, but each one needs a budget decision before the team falls in love with an option. The tool for this episode is the Design to Budget Control Worksheet, plus the Budget Variance Register. It does 5 things. First, it defines the budget baseline. Second, it names the cost drivers. Third, it classifies design choices using 5 decision outcomes. And fourth, it logs the budget variances with owners and trade rules. And fifth, it creates if-then rules so the team knows when to continue, when to price, and when to pause. Let me show you how this works. At the top, we start with the budget baseline. This is where the team writes down the hard cost guardrail, the contingency or design reserve, escalation assumptions, pricing status, exclusions, allowances, and decision tolerance bands. Now, the key here is the tolerance band. Green means that we're inside the agreed range. Yellow means we need to price and schedule check. Red means we pause and re-baseline because the budget has moved beyond what the deal can absorb. Now we move to the major cost drivers. This keeps the team focused on areas that actually move the budget. The structure, the parking, the envelope, the MEP, the site and the civil, the amenities, and the back of the house. Then we move to the option review scorecard. This is where the team classifies each item. Protect, simplify, right size, defer, or price. Finally, the budget variance register makes sure every variance has a cause, an impact, an owner, a trade rule, and a due date. That's the whole point. Do not let budget movement float. Here are the 5 decision outcomes. Protect means the scope supports revenue, operations, compliance, durability, or schedule. Cutting it would damage the outcome, so we trade somewhere else. Simplify means the intent is valid, but the execution is too complex. We keep the value, but we reduce the geometry, the transitions, the details, or the coordination burden. Right size means that the function is valid, but the scope is too large, so we reduce the area, the quantity, or the specification without losing the purpose. Defer means the idea might be useful, but we don't need to fully commit now. We preserve optionality, create shell space, or revisit it at a defined gate. Price means that the item cannot be approved as a baseline until the cost and the schedule impact are known. This is how design to budget becomes a decision system, not just a cost-cutting exercise. The danger of late VE is that it often cuts visible cost instead of unnecessary complexity, and that can create value destruction. For example, cutting durability may reduce first cost, but increase operating budgets. Cutting unit quality may hurt rent or absorption. Cutting coordination scope may create change orders later. And cutting life safety, code, or compliance scope isn't even real savings because all that comes back. Cutting operations support can create long-term NOI problems. So the question is not, what can we remove? The better question is, what can we simplify without damaging the business outcome? You see, the budget variance register is where budget drift becomes visible. Every variance should answer, what changed? Why did it change? What is the budget impact? What is the schedule impact? What does it threaten? Who owns the decision? What is the trade rule or mitigation? When is it due? If a variance doesn't have an owner and a trade rule, it's not being managed. It's just waiting to become late value engineering. So here are the if-then rules that I recommend. If the scope is added without pricing, don't approve it as baseline. Mark it price and assign an owner and a date. If the estimate moves into the yellow band, run a price and schedule check and name the trade rules. If the estimate moves into the red band, pause and rebaseline the design, the budget, and the underwriting. If a proposed cut touches revenue, operations, durability, or compliance, don't call it value engineering. Treat it as a protected item and trade somewhere else. If a high-risk item is still unknown, carry an explicit allowance or resolve it before advancing. And if a change affects multiple systems, price it before approval, because small design changes can have second-order cost impacts. So here's how we run this in an hour. We take 10 minutes. We confirm the budget baseline, the contingency, the exclusions, and the pricing status. We take the next 15 minutes and we review the major cost drivers and estimate movement since the last gate. We take the next 15 minutes and we classify the scope items. What are we going to protect, simplify, right size, defer, or price? We then take 10 minutes and we update the budget variance register with owners, trade rules, and due dates. Then we take 10 minutes and we confirm decisions. We publish the budget source of truth and we decide what must be resolved before the next phase. The output is simple. It's a current budget baseline, a visible variance list, and a set of decisions the team can actually act on. So let's recap. The design to budget is not late-stage value engineering. It is a discipline of using budget as a live design constraint, while decisions are still flexible. We want to use the worksheet to define the baseline. We want to use the scorecard to classify the scope. And we want to use the budget variance register to make drift visible. And then we want to use the if-then rules to protect value instead of cutting blindly. Our next episode is permit set readiness, the drawing quality threshold that protects schedule. Because once the project is aligned to the budget, the next risk is submitting before the drawings are coordinated enough to protect your review time.